A doot 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 part two. All right, welcome, little buddies. This is Little Essage here. This is part two of my Last of Us subtle storytelling breakdowns sort of deal. I am just gonna kind of jump right into it. Watch part one if you haven't. This kind of just picks up right where that leaves off. So right off the bat, you see the door where I had my back to the wall, and it reads right there, warning, infected inside, do not open, and then it's blocked, right? So somebody we do get through the door, somebody blocked the door and wrote on there, do not fucking go in there, because there's infected, so you learn that. And that was most likely the people, Ish, Kyle, Susan, those people in those notes, right? Because they got surrounded, they left a door open, something happened to where they had to leave because it was no longer safe. So basically, you are walking in the neighborhood sort of adjacent to the sewers that you were exploring. And you end up finding some interesting things. That's why there's a part two. There's still more to this story, other than just what happened in the sewers. I do want to kind of touch on what I mean by subtle storytelling, since this is kind of something I'm just sort of making up. It's basically just storytelling using sort of understated or hidden details. Things, in this case, like notes. It could be anything, though. Music, just not those straightforward things. Because The Last of Us is a very straightforward story. It's got the cut scenes, it's very movie cinematic-like. So it is very straightforward, but there are stories inside this game that you do not see. And we're going to come across our first note here. It's the looting note. It reads, "Another night, another shooting. I could see the muzzle flashes coming from the Carsons' windows. I stayed up the entire night with the whole family in one room. I doubt anybody got any sleep. It's only a matter of time before the looters try to break into our house. We have to get out of here." That skinny man approached us again. He traded more of his bullets for some of our food. He offered us to join him in his hideout. He says it's secure and, more importantly, hidden. Easily defendable is how he described it. He said that the only reason he trusts me is because I have kids. I don't think we can stay here anymore. He seems like a trustworthy guy. I'm going to suggest to everyone tomorrow that we take him up on his offer. And that is written by Kyle, the man who was in that room with children, surrounded, saying basically he will kill himself, and it does appear that he did kill the children, or at least they did die. And from that note, you see that he, ran into Ish, most likely because in Ish's note he says that he found some people with some kids, and was going to invite them to join him. So this note takes place around the same time that other note that Ish wrote, that I want to say the second note. And it also relays that Kyle had a family. In this note you're seeing, this isn't important, this is just another side one. It doesn't have to do with this story. Kyle had a family, so those kids could have very possibly been his. I mean, it's very highly likely that he was protecting them and eventually had to kill them, which is pretty sad. It doesn't necessarily say anything about Susan, but it is kind of, I do get a feeling that maybe that they were together, Kyle and Susan. But there's not really any evidence to state that for sure. So that note basically shows that Kyle, they met Ish, and that this is where Kyle was in comparison to Ish on the other side of the sewer. And Ish really helped them, because they were to the point where they were so desperate that they thought that at any point during the night they could get looted and most likely killed. So it shows the level of desperation. And I believe we come up on our next one here. Yes, the bash. It's the survivor's note, and this is the last note. "One open door, that's all it took. One of us forgot to close a door, and a horde of those monsters entered our camp. We shut them in there and wrote a warning on the outside. Susan and a couple of the kids are with me. As far as I know, we're the only survivors. I had to hold Susan so she wouldn't run back in there. Go back for the bodies. It's just too dangerous. She lost her children, and I have no clue what to say to her. Every part of my being just wants to give up. It'd be so easy to surrender to this world. I can't do that, though. I have too much faith in humanity. I've seen that we're still capable of good. We can make it. I have to stay strong for her. Ish." So this is the last note that you'll run into. It's in a house next to the one Kyle had. And basically it's saying that Ish and Susan and a couple kids did survive. And this gameplay I'm showing this just some combat, just so I can talk over. They did survive. And they're traveling. And it basically comes down to, and this is where I believe that Susan and Kyle were possibly together, is because she lost some children. Those children were in there with Kyle. So there's a connection there of some sort. And basically, it's saying that everything went wrong in the sewers. One door was open, the monsters got in, it ended everything, people died. And that they had to leave, and they shut the door. They wrote that note that you saw in the very beginning of the video next to the door, and that's them moving on. But the main thing I like to see from this is Ish started as a man by himself on a boat. He crashes and ends up going into the sewers to explore, but you know, he had no choice really. He had to do something. His boat had crashed. And what ends up happening is he ends up finding people, and in a way restoring his faith in humanity. They start what I would call a small colony. They try to build back civilization, and one small thing goes wrong and it's all over. I mean, it's as quick as you got there is as quick as it's gone. And he goes from being a very lonely man to opening up, finding people that I would imagine loves, because we do not know how long they were together before all the bad stuff happened. And that's basically that. The main thing I want to have everybody take away from this is, in games, the storytelling, there's so much more to it, so much density, so much little small details that are just excellent. And The Last of Us is a very prime example of that. There is storytelling in games that is so indirect and hard to find, whether it be The Last of Us leaving notes, or the Elder Scrolls games with their giant books with detailed stories, games like Bloodborne and Resident Evil type games where they have item descriptions that tell entire stories. Those games are out there, and they have very detailed stories hidden in them, and they're great if you can find them. That's all I have. I hope that there was something to be found within these videos, some type of message to be sent. Mostly just be on the lookout for great storytelling. Thanks for watching, little buddies. I would appreciate a subscribe, like, or comment if you like this. Thank you.